Hello and welcome to Darshan. I'm Dinesh Verma, filling in for Ramesh, who's off this week.
And I'm Aastha Verma. It's great to have you back here, Dinesh. We haven't done a show in quite a while. And
yeah, it's been a long time.
Should we put our standard disclaimer out there?
We're not married, though we have the same last name.
It's a little like Robinson. You know, there's a lot of Robinsons floating around. There's a lot of Vermas floating around in India. And it's just curious that we spell our last name the same way.
Right.
But it's great to have you back, and what a great day to have you in the studio because there's so much to talk about today.
Absolutely. What do you want to get started with?
Well, you know, first things first, I want to start with John Boehner. If you were watching C-SPAN right before the big vote on the health care reform, then no doubt you heard John Boehner speaking. And if you did, it was quite a sight to see. You know, the whole time he was speaking, I couldn't help but think, for so long, we have heard metaphors and descriptions, a quintessential angry black man, right? Here you had an angry white man, a middle-aged WASP man who was just frankly very angry, coming across very angry, and his tone, his demeanor, and when he said, hell no, we can't, I think for me as an American, looking at that, thinking, oh, wait a minute, yes, we can. We just elected a guy who said we could, and, you know, why not for once, damn it, yes, we can.
Well, you know, healthcare sparked a lot of debate. We've seen the good and the bad from both sides. But what the Republicans have really figured out, particularly Boehner, all he has to do is sit back and look tan. I mean, have you seen this guy? He's from the Midwest, right? He's from Ohio, if memory serves. Yet every time I see him, he's got the perfect tan. He even rivals my bronze, you know, my natural bronze. Looks better than I do.
You know, this is Ramesh's pet peeve. He's always saying how congressmen need to work a 40-hour work week. It seems to me certainly like these guys, you know, they must be spending a lot of time in the sun or in a tanning bed to look that good.
There's a little bit of airbrushing going on, if you ask me.
Well, it's no surprise, of course, that even Nancy Pelosi got a lot of attention in all this. You know, the day that the vote actually happened, there was a protest happening on the Hill at the same time. And so you had a very interesting phenomena happen. You had people directly outside the Capitol chamber yelling, kill the bill. In fact, some of them, you know, you're allowed at points to come into the Capitol. During the actual vote itself, you had protesters outside yelling, kill the bill. So this was rather a momentous bill amidst that environment, if you consider the fact that there was not a single Republican vote on the House version of this. It's a very partisan bill, if you will, and yet I think it was time. President Obama had no choice. He had to go on the offensive. This was a key victory for him, and in a way, I'm really happy it happened because it validates his presidency.
Well, it was a key victory, but at what price? You know, you had as you said, no Republican voted for the bill. You also had almost 30 Democrats say we're not voting for it either. So that shows that there's a lot of dissent in the Democratic Party. And one of the key things about this bill and this debate, with other big debates or big issues that are percolating through Congress, I hear a lot of talking points and sound bites in the media. Well, here's what this bill will mean to you. I guarantee you find 10 people off the street right now, they still couldn't tell you the highlights of this bill. I don't know what the highlights of this bill are.
I have to be honest, I think the media has really not done its job. The media has become so obsessed with what people are saying about the bill that, you know, media really should have two components to its purpose. One is to bring the news, but it's also to educate the public. And in this case, what you have is week after week, day after day, you've got opinions and you've got a lot of facts being put out in the paper, but you're not getting a very crisp, clean view of what this bill is. The media has not done its part, I think, to educate the public on what exactly is in this bill. Consequently, there's so much rhetoric. Consequently, people are just operating on fear without really understanding what this bill is about. And quite frankly, you hear more about what the perception of the bill is and what is actually in the bill itself.
I would agree. I would take it a step further. The politicians haven't done their job. They haven't done a good job communicating it effectively to their constituents and explaining to them, here's what this bill is going to be to you, and here's why it's important. We're out there working for you. You know, back when this was going through the Senate, look me in the eye and tell me with a straight face that you could stay awake when Harry Reid was talking about health care. Because I couldn't.
Well, the truth is, you know, health care is so big. And there are so many aspects to it between the doctors, the insurance companies, the paperwork, the red tape, modernizing the system, that anything you do has to be on some level sweeping in order for it to make any kind of a dent in the overall system. And yet people are at the same time quite afraid of what this is going to mean to their day-to-day management of healthcare. And the reality is many of these things will be phased in over time. The two things, of course, that are getting attention, one is coverage for pre-existing conditions, which I think is huge. And second is now all Americans will be covered. There will be an option for them that they can buy into a larger pool, if you will, kind of like Medicare, which allows them to afford insurance. The theory being overall that premiums will go down for everyone because you won't be expending large amounts of money on the uninsured. At least that's what the whole premise of this has been.
It's been a soup of protests in Washington this week. Not only did you have healthcare protesters descending upon the Hill, you also had immigration advocates descend upon the Hill to protest Congress for some sort of immigration reform. Yet at the same time, you had anti-war protesters come into D.C. as well. Cindy Sheehan, who
many of you remember, camped out,
right,
I think, in front of George Bush's ranch in Texas.
That's right. She was back in D.C. this past weekend. She was arrested again in an anti-war protest because this marks the 7th year anniversary of the Iraq War. But the immigration rally in particular was an interesting one because it drew groups from all over the country into D.C. to really scream at Congress, you've got to do something, you got to fix this. And there was a great piece in the Post about how some workers in Maryland had just been arrested in an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement raid, ICE as they're known, and they were actually attending the conference or the rallies with ankle bracelets on their feet. So they were in what's known as the VIP section, so ICE could still monitor their movements, but they were there to speak up and to say, hey, you know, we're here, let's do something.
It's incredible.